Funding for this edition of State of Affairs with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, the New Jersey Education Association, Summit Health, a provider of primary, specialty, and urgent care, RWJ Barnabas Health, PSE&G, committed to providing safe, reliable energy now and in the future, Bank of America, Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, NJM Insurance Group, serving New Jersey's drivers, homeowners, and business owners for more than 100 years. And by Fedway Associates, Inc. Promotional support provided by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. And by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. We are honored once again to be joined by Paula Franzese. She's in fact, a Peter W. Rodino Professor of Law at Seton Hall Law School. Good to see you, Professor.
It is so good to see you, Steve. Thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure. Paula, you've always been very helpful in putting judicial issues in context for us. The situation, I don't want to date ourselves because we're taping on the 20th of September, being seen later. People are being nominated to the state Supreme Court. We don't know about the approval process. Let's just say it's a little political at times, just a little. What does it mean when the full complement of 7 state Supreme Court justices are not in place? What does that mean for the judicial system and for those who seek justice?
Well, it is quite important that the New Jersey Supreme Court be fully constituted. It's 7 justices that are supposed to, by tradition and longstanding history, represent both parties to assure that the court stays above the fray, as it always has, to be nonpartisan. Right now, the court has 4 members, with 3 members called up by Chief Justice Radner from the Appellate Division, all 3 of whom are immensely well qualified, but they're only interim appointees. It's very, very important for stability and also for the orderly administration of justice to have that full bench in place. Our state Supreme Court is the gem of our state. It's been referred to with great praise by the New York Times as New Jersey's New York Yankees, for good reason. It is a Steve.
Well, no, I'm a Yankee fan, and I'm not sure they'd be referred to the Yankees of today. But what I mean by that is the Supreme Court of then, when that was said, is not the Supreme Court of now. It is, by many folks who understand this process and the politics of it, and state senators who block appointments. There's something called senatorial courtesy, which is not in the state not in the state 1947 Constitution, but it is a practice, unwritten, that state senators from a county where a judge is nominated to be or someone is nominated to be on the state Supreme Court, that senator can block and has blocked appointments to the Supreme Court. Based on what?
It depends. Based oftentimes, at least theoretically, on assuring a healthy bipartisan balance to make certain that the court is a fully and equally represented branch of government. Senatorial courtesy cuts both ways, as you're noting. On the one hand, it is a check against unbridled power exercised by the governor and the legislative majority. On the other hand, it can be a delaying tactic. It can be a politics as usual tactic. What I can tell you as a keen observer of the court is that irrespective of party affiliation when nominated, it's been my experience that the New Jersey State Supreme Court justices abide that long tradition of rising above the political labels to do justice, to do what's right. I think the court is the New York Yankees. If you're a Yankees fan, as I am, of the state, the process that gets judges to the bench leaves a lot to be desired.
But Paul, here's the perplexing part for me. And P.S., I want to be clear, Democrats and Republicans in the state legislature, and people may be wondering, what does it have to do with the Senate? The governor nominates someone to be on the Supreme Court. The states must approve or reject that nominee or not even consider that nominee. That being said, which is similar to the United States United States Supreme Court Associate Justice, if you will, nominated by the president, the Senate has to act or not act. That being said, what is the role of party affiliation? If we're saying they're impartial, if we're saying the law is what matters, then what the heck is the difference what their party affiliation is if party affiliation has no place in adjudicating a judicial issue?
Because perception is important, and the court, our state Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, has long been concerned with its perception. It needs to enjoy the public confidence. It also needs to communicate to the public that it is a representative, full and equal branch of government. So the idea of a 4-3 split on our 7-member comprised court is important. It's an important tradition to preserve.
Okay, so let me nationalize this. As we speak, the United States Supreme Court, judges across this nation have incredible power to make difficult decisions in an incredibly polarized, divided nation. And I'm not asking you to comment on the situation in Mar-a-Lago. That'll play out. We don't want to date ourselves. But when an appellate court judge in Florida makes a decision as to whether a special master is appointed or not, again, don't date ourselves, and it's applauded by those who are supporters of former President Trump because she's a Trump supporter. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'll go back to perception. Why would it even be relevant whether a judge is a Trump supporter, a Biden supporter, voted Democrat, Republican? The law is the law. The Constitution is the Constitution. Or am I being naive?
No, I don't think you're being naive. I think that what you're reflecting is part of the genius of our framers when devising this tripartite system of government. The courts are supposed to serve as umpires. Chief Justice Roberts famously said that. They call balls and strikes. They are not to legislate from the bench. They are to be fair, impartial adjudicators. The problem is that judges do not work in a vacuum. They're serving in a hyper-politicized, hyper-partisan culture. The media does an awful lot to contribute to the punditry and to stoking lots of the divisions, which are clickbait for people. I think that as a nation, we are, as a people, far more reasonable than the portrayal of the very polarized, divisive splits that we read about and hear about constantly in the media. And I also think that special master, there's a great Buddhist wisdom. Was it wise? Was it not? And the answer is always, we'll see. Because right now, there are many who initially applauded the appointment of the special master who are deriding the appointment. So time will tell. But again, I remain very, very confident, I hope confident, but very confident in our great social experiment, this great democracy.
Real quick on this, and in P.S., we will not date ourselves because it will play out the way it plays out, that issue and others. Can I get a response to this? President Biden is turning 80 relatively soon. Donald Trump, if he were to run again, mid-70s, beyond. Why is there a mandatory retirement age at 70 in the Supreme Court in New Jersey, and does that make sense?
No, I do not think it makes sense. As a matter of my opinion, 70 is not what it may have been perceived to have been generations ago. 70, a vibrant decade. The 80s, a vibrant decade for so many of the most acclaimed jurists in our country, who often, history tells, served beautifully on the U.S. Supreme Court well into their 90s. 70 is too young. The mandatory retirement age in New Jersey, it has to be changed. We've got a crisis right now in unfilled positions in the state bench. We'll have another 15 or so vacancies in December when 16 judges hit the mandatory retirement age.
To Professor Franzese's point, there is no retirement age for the United States Supreme Court, but there is one at 70 for the New Jersey Supreme Court. We'll follow this. And P.S., Professor Franzese will be joining us on our other series I do with Jackie Tricarico, our executive producer and co-anchor of Remember Them. We'll be talking about a very significant jurist in the state of New Jersey who passed away but had a great impact on our lives. Paula, thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
You got to stay with us. We'll be right back.
To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
I'm very grateful that I'm still here.
That's me and my donor when we went to celebrate our first anniversary.
With a new kidney, I have strength.
They gave me a new lease on life.
I'm still going everywhere and exploring new places.
Nobody thought I was going to be here. Nobody.
And I look forward to getting older with my wife. That's possible now.
We're transforming lives through innovative kidney treatments, living donor programs, and world-renowned care at 2 of New Jersey's premier hospitals.
They gave me my normal life back. It's a blessing.
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
We're now joined by State Senator Anthony Bucco, a Republican. He's, in fact, a Republican whip, which means he's a leader in the Senate in the Republican Party. Good to see you, Senator.
Good to see you, Steve.
You often put things in perspective for us on a range of issues, but one of the issues I want to talk to you about right away is the Clean Energy Initiative in the state of New Jersey. You have said in the past that you wanted to know the cost of the governor's clean energy program. And you have argued after a report came out on August 17th, it was a BPU report that was put together by the Brattle Group. Long story short is you don't buy the report. The report says that ratepayers will not be paying more for clean energy. You say they will. What's wrong with this picture?
Well, look, the report isn't complete. The report states that if you go to complete renewable energy in your household, you'll save a couple of $100 annually on your electric bills. But what it doesn't tell you is how much it will cost the family to convert their home to an entire electric system. You've got to replace your furnace in many cases. You've got to replace hot water heaters, stoves, and it also includes the purchase of an electric vehicle. So if you don't know what those costs are up front, how do you know whether or not it's beneficial to save a couple of $100 a year? You're talking about, potentially $75,000 investment or more to a family, and to save a couple of $100 a year. That seems, the cost benefit analysis for that doesn't seem right. And the fact that the report doesn't address the amount of money it will take to get there, to me, says it's flawed. And I don't think the report's worth the paper it's written on until we get that cost-benefit analysis.
Let me disclose one item here which matters. The Caucus Educational Corporation, our not-for-profit production company, receives a grant from the third-party advertising agency that promotes the clean energy program in the state of New Jersey to do public awareness, which also means we do important conversations like this where people have a different perspective on it. That being said, Senator, I want to read to you, and we will have the BPU President, Board of Public Utilities President Joe Fiordaliso on to share his perspective on this ratepayer impact study. This is according to the Sierra Club. The BPU report confirms that the ratepayer will ultimately pay less if we transition to clean energy sources and our homes and vehicles are electrified. It goes on to talk about it. Now, why would the Sierra Club make that statement if what you just said about the 75 grand is accurate?
Look, they're making that statement because they're ignoring the fact of how much it's going to cost to get us to that point. So they're correct when they say you may save $100 or $200 a year on your electric bill, but they don't ever tell you how much it costs you to buy a new electric vehicle, to replace your furnace, to convert your home. And if you don't know those costs up front, how can you make a determination whether $200 savings a year is worth the initial investment? You know, without those other numbers, without those cost numbers, you can't make a logical decision. And let's face it, Steve, 60 or more % of our families are living day to day in the state of New Jersey. So to say to them, you've got to now make a huge investment, you know, could be $100,000, could be 75, 100, could be more, depending on the size of your home and the appliances that you have to change and the vehicles that you have to purchase. If you have to make that investment, you have to make sure that the amount of money you're putting out is going to be recouped in a period of time, which makes the investment a logical choice. It also ignores.
Senator,
go ahead.
I'm sorry for interrupting, Senator, but you do believe that our reliance on fossil fuel is problematic environmentally in terms of climate change. You acknowledge that the status quo is not acceptable, correct?
Everybody wants a clean environment. Everybody wants a clean environment. But the fact of the matter is carbon emissions are at its lowest point in 33 years here in New Jersey. We're headed in the right direction. Whether or not we have to go to 100% renewable energy is a question.
What do you think we should do?
Well, I think we have to know the costs. We have to know the costs. And I don't think we can ignore clean natural gas. You know, to say that we're throwing out natural gas along with everything else, I think is problematic. I don't think the system can handle 100% renewable energy.
What do you mean the system? Are you talking about the grid?
The grid, sure. I mean, when you look at other states that have tried to go this route, you see that in the wintertime when it's cold, there's not enough energy to produce the heat. We've seen it all over the place. So you're talking about a huge amount of investment that has to get here in order for this to even potentially work. And then you're not even considering the fact of what it's going to cost each family. And the problem is this isn't going through the legislature. This is being done by regulation. This is all being done by the DEP through regulation. It's going to be a regulation that takes effect in December that will require boilers in excess of a million BPU to be replaced by electric boilers. So now, when you think about that, I was just at the County College of Morris the other day, and the president said to me, "Is this really going to happen?" He said, "Do you know how many millions of dollars this is going to cost the college to replace our heating systems?" So who's going to pay for that? The taxpayers and the students. So there's huge economic impact associated with this plan. And without knowing the cost, without considering clean natural gas, we're making a big mistake. We're heading in the wrong direction.
Senator, I'll hold that thought right there. And I want to reiterate that we will have the BPU, Board of Public Utilities President Joe Fiordaliso. And again, we're going to have a very detailed, comprehensive interview with Governor Murphy, a half hour. I assure you the clean energy discussion will be part of that conversation. Real quick on this, Senator, we have an initiative called Reimagine Childcare. The graphic will be up. How important is affordable, accessible, quality childcare, particularly as it relates to the New Jersey economy and people being able to work and have quality childcare at the same time that they can afford?
It's very important. You know, we have to make sure that we provide for good, affordable childcare so that people can go back to work. We saw during the pandemic when things started to open up again, that parents were having trouble because their kids weren't back to school and they needed somebody to be home. They were learning remotely. So we saw that really showed us how big a problem it can be. We got to get people back to work, and we have to be able to have them be able to work comfortably, knowing their children are being taken care of. So that's an investment New Jersey needs to make.
You've been listening to State Senator Anthony Bucco, who is a leader in the Republican Party, in the State Senate Republican Party whip, which is, I believe, the second most prominent position in the minority party. Is that correct, Senator?
It usually goes the leader, the conference leader, and then the whip. But listen, I'm just honored to be in the State House. I'm honored to represent my district, and it's always great to be on with you to discuss these issues that affect people's livelihoods every day.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back.
To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
I'm very grateful that I'm still here.
That's me and my daughter when we went to celebrate our first anniversary.
With a new kidney, I have strength.
They gave me a new lease on life.
I'm still going everywhere and exploring new places.
Nobody thought I was going to be here. Nobody.
And I look forward to getting older with my wife. That's possible now.
We're transforming lives through innovative kidney treatments, living donor programs, and world-renowned care at 2 of New Jersey's premier hospitals.
They gave me my normal life back. It's a blessing.
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
We are joined once again by State Senator Vin Gopal, Democratic Conference Chair and Chair of the Senate Education Committee. Senator, great to have you with us.
Great to be with you, Steve.
Right now, we have a teacher shortage crisis, a crisis of not enough teachers in our schools. What's the problem and what do we need to do?
I think the profession has been taking a hit as a whole. We're seeing bills across the country, ridiculous bills, such as putting cameras in the classroom. We're already starting with educators who, the average teacher starting at a salary of around 40, 50,000 over 30 years. They're not making anywhere close to six figures. We've seen this big misinformation campaign related to sex education. I've spoken to kids, I call them kids, students at different universities who are interested in being teachers. And there's just been a great attack on the teaching profession as a whole. So I think we've got a lot of challenges, but it has to do a lot of the misinformation on the attacks on teachers.
Senator, I want to go to the sex education confusion. I don't even know if I call it controversy. There's confusion, which for some may mean controversy. That being said, I want to go back to the shortage issue. There are many states who are now considering ways to get folks in the classroom without their teaching certification, and there are different processes in which to do this. Should we be doing that in New Jersey?
Absolutely. I just came from Lead Charter School over in the Central Ward in Newark, where I talked to the faculty and students there, and I saw some incredible teachers there that had different pathways to get there. So I think we need to look at all options, and I think professional experience should help equate to some folks becoming a teacher.
But Senator, how do we guarantee that they're qualified to be in front of that classroom if, in fact, they're not certified? And what does it say about all those who have been certified?
I think we have to look and see what the subject is, what the type of certifications. I do think they have to take some kind of test. I do think they have to take some kind of skill set. Look, a lot of private schools right now, you don't need the same certifications to teach in public schools. And we know that. I mean, we've had a lot of people have different careers and they come into the private school setting to teach. I think we have to put everything on the table. There's a number of bills that Senator Ruiz and I are moving in Senate Education later this month, and I think we have to look at all approach. I don't think what they did down in Florida was entirely helpful. I think this has to be based on certifications and educational background.
And I believe what you mean in Florida is there's absolutely no certification required, and I'm not even sure what is then required to become a teacher.
Correct.
Switch gears. There have been certain legislators, particularly certain Republican legislators, who are arguing that the education profession, that our schools are, quote, trying to indoctrinate young children at a very early age around sexual orientation, around gender, et cetera, as it relates to the public school curriculum in different grades. What is fact and what is inaccurate, Senator?
Yeah, this has really been discouraging. This isn't even politics. I've been extremely disappointed in Republican leader Steve Adubato, not the precedent that his predecessor, Senator Kaine, and others set, where politics is okay, but this is dangerous. We are at September, end of September now, 600 plus school districts, and we don't have a single school district out there that is public that we know about that is apparently teaching inappropriate material to school children. It's not happening. So this has been a small group of people that have spread a lot of misinformation to try to bring politics.
Senator, why would they do that? But what's the game? First of all, we're taping in September, be seen later. But Senator, what's the advantage to state something that that you argue is in the curriculum regarding sex education that you argue is inappropriate, if in fact you can argue it's inappropriate or not, and people that could have different points of view, but it is what it is and it's not what it's not. So it's either there or it's not.
It's not there. They're just making it up, right? They're telling that people are teaching sex acts to second graders and they're trying to change gender identity. That does not exist. They're doing it because there's November elections coming up and Congress is at stake and they're going to try to do it next year. And usually when parents are busy right now, they've got to take care of their kids. They got full-time jobs. So they see a Facebook headline or a newspaper article headline, oh, Democrats are trying to indoctrinate their kids. They're counting on parents not to do more research and background because they're so busy in their lives and hoping that fear allows them, because obviously when your child is at stake, nothing is more important. So they're hoping that fear moves away. But here we are. We can't name, Steve, a single school district out of 600 that's apparently teaching anything inappropriate.
Senator, shift gears. You've joined us in the past and talked honestly and openly in a very helpful way around some of the personal mental health issues you have experienced. And you've helped a lot of people in that process, not only talking to us, but talking publicly about this. What is the youth mental health crisis initiative in the state as it relates to the New Jersey Pediatric Psychiatric Collaborative? I know there's a lot of jargon there, but I'm going to put up the senator's website so people can find out more. What is the New Jersey Pediatric Psychiatric Collaborative?
This was championed by Speaker Coughlin, myself, and many others. Mental health continues to be the largest issue. As I've spoken openly, Steve, on the Senate floor with you, I've struggled with depression, I've struggled with anxiety. Breaking that stigma is important. It's important for children to know that a lot has happened, not just around COVID, but things in their own families. And sometimes that has a direct impact. You can't go and sit on a standardized test when there's enough challenges that you're having outside of the home. And I just went to the charter school in Newark, and to hear these kids' personal stories, if I had to go through that, I can't imagine how I could take any test. I'm privileged that I had an upbringing that was different, but so many people are having that challenge, and we can't just go the old school model of go to school, you're there, you're going to be disciplined, you're going to take a test, and then you're off at 4 o'clock, and we don't know what happens to you the rest of the day. So we're going to be pushing hard. We got a hearing coming out later this year on mental health in our schools, about adding more counselors, adding more collaborative partnerships. We've got a lot of great nonprofit organizations out there, like we have Prevention First here, and we need to make sure that there are partnerships in those counties and that schools kind of change their business model on how a student is going to succeed. It can't just be about them taking a test and then you're done.
I want to thank Senator Vin Gopal, who is the Democratic Conference Chair and also the chairman of the very significant, important, and impactful Senate Education Committee. Senator, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Steve.
You got it. I'm Steve Adubato. That is Vin Gopal. We'll see you next time.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, the New Jersey Education Association, Summit Health, RWJ Barnabas Health, PSE&G, Bank of America, Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, NJM Insurance Group, Fedway Associates, Inc., and by these public-spirited organizations, individuals, and associations committed to informing New Jersey citizens about the important issues facing the Garden State. And by Employers Association of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and by New Jersey Monthly. To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
I'm very grateful that I'm still here.
That's me and my daughter when we went to celebrate our first anniversary.
With a new kidney, I have strength.
They gave me a new lease on life.
I'm still going everywhere and exploring new places.
Nobody thought I was going to be here. Nobody.
And I look forward to getting older with my wife. That's possible now.
We're transforming lives through innovative kidney treatments, living donor programs, and world-renowned care at 2 of New Jersey's premier hospitals.
They gave me my normal life back. It's a blessing.
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.